like to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Confirmation of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor LaFave and Councilor Charlebois. And I'd like to amend the agenda.
Moved by Councillor LaFave, seconded by Councillor Charlebois, that the meeting agenda is amended to include the following items. Under business, 11D, correspondence from the town of Ercole Falls to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. Business 11E, letter from Michelle Herodens, President of Enbridge Gas. And closed sessions, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, Municipal Act, Section 239(2), concerning procedural matters.
All in favor? Carried. Can I get a mover and a seconder? The meeting agenda is approved as amended. Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Byrne.
Moved by Councillor Jiguer, seconded by Councillor Bernier, that the meeting agenda is approved as amended.
All in favor? Carried. Following meetings be adopted. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor LaFave, Councilor Jiguer.
Moved by Councillor LaFave, seconded by Councillor Jiguer, that the following minutes are hereby adopted. Special meeting, December 21st, 2023, 12 p.m. Emergency meeting, January 9th, 2024, 4 p.m. Regular meeting, January 15th, 2024, 6 p.m. Special meeting, January 17th, 2024, 6 p.m.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor LaFave.
December 21st, I was actually at that meeting. It shows me as not recorded as being.
I'll correct that. Thank you.
One more.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor LaFave.
One more thing, and I'm sorry if I marked it off. I just want to make sure that it isn't in the agenda already, but we had a first reading on resolution 2024-20 to adopt council meeting reporting policy. Are we dealing with that tonight?
We are not, because we were directed to seek legal on it, so we've reached out to legal twice. We're just waiting for a response.
Hopefully by next meeting.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. So the billboard on James Street, can I get a mover and a second, please? Councilor Bernier. Councilor Jiguer.
Moved by Councillor Bernier, seconded by Councillor Jiguer, that council approve the use of the boulevard on James Street located behind 387 Main Street for tenant parking.
Is there any discussion? Can I get the Public Works Director maybe to speak on it? Sorry. Would you mind speaking?
Sure, your worship. I could,
This is the parking on James Street.
Yeah.
right, so the last conversation I had with Director Dubé, the conversation revolved around not allowing the parking to happen because of winter operations and setting additional precedences of allowing others to park on boulevards. So therefore, I definitely think that it's not something we should start going down that avenue as far as allowing people to park on boulevards due to snow removal and other reasons.
Yeah.
The proximity of the snowbanks when that car's parked on the boulevard would cause the snowbank to be quite a bit on the roadway, and it would definitely impede traffic and bottleneck that road.
Councilor Bernier, do you have your hand up?
I was just gonna make sure that we were gonna seek the advice because we had.
I was just gonna say the same thing as Director Public, because it's right on the corner there, and if graders coming around, where are you gonna put that snow? And then there's a chance of damaging the car, and then you're into another issue.
And then emergency services might have an issue too. Councilor Charlebois?
Must have been distracted when you called for conflicts of interest, your worship, because I was going to declare one. We are at item 9C1.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my bad.
Well, we'll declare the deemed conflict of interest for the matter because the applicant is the landlord for my business's location,
Okay,
so.
yeah, no, sorry about that. I apologize. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So is there any further discussion? So, can I either read the motion, please?
It was moved by Councillor Bernier, seconded by Councillor Jiguer, that council approve the use of the boulevard on James Street located behind 387 Main Street for tenant parking.
All in favor?
I,
Oh,
so obviously it looks like it's going up, it's not gonna be approved. Are we giving a timeline, like a notice to the individual to find like a secondary parking, like, we could give like, I don't know, like a 2-day window for this individual to come up with some kind of.
okay, go ahead.
So just to follow up on, I should have added this earlier. I've been keeping an eye on this specific location over the last couple of snowfalls. And the vehicle is indeed parked in the parking lot. It hasn't been on the boulevard because they haven't removed the snow there. So he's been there. I think the problem is, without knowing for sure, is that they don't want to be behind whoever is the other tenant and they have to move and shuffle vehicles. So
Yeah.
there is space, it's an inconvenience, I think, more than anything.
Okay, so they're not breaking no laws or anything.
No, they're not on the road right now.
Go ahead.
It seems to me we discussed this already, that we were gonna give them leeway till the 30th, including the 30th, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think as of February 1st, if the person is still parked there or continues to park there, then I think bylaw should continue to ticket until they move.
All good?
Yeah, thanks.
So all in favor? Denied. For a license and regulate government businesses, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Charlebois, Councillor Bernier,
Moved by Councillor Charlebois, seconded by Councillor Bernier, that bylaw number 376124, being a bylaw to license, regulate, and govern businesses within the municipality, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 29th day of January 2024.
any comments or questions from council? Or really the Treasury Department to speak on it, or? Treasury Department,
Okay, thank you. First item is that, we are not going to, use that to enforce any zoning bylaw. That is the first thing I would say. We know, people have, businesses, services going on, in their homes, in their basement. We are not going to use that to, show them they are not zoned to do that. We are just going to require them to come to the town hall and register their businesses. They're very, I would say, we are not going to chase them. We need them to be open and continue their business at the appropriate time. If they grow the business in a level where they need to move from the basement to probably zone in area, that would be fine. But we are not going to chase them.
so would that open a can of worms with all the stuff we've been going through legally?
I will not go to that extent. All I would say is, people are doing it, whether we are enforcing the law or not. But what we are going to say is that we are not going to use that against them. We are not going to use that against them. Because that is not the intention of the bylaw. The intention of the bylaw is to get them into the registration session where they will register and pay the license fee and the renewal fee.
Jose, are we able to do that without getting your hand slapped?
I think we have done the treasurer is saying,
So we won't get our hands slapped?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Or if you want us to seek legal advice, we can.
I don't know, I just want to make sure because we're in legal stuff right
Yeah,
now.
I think what you're talking about is people who buy property that is zoned residential and want it to turn into a commercial property. That's the issue. That's not what this bylaw is all about. It's simply about registering existing businesses that basically are flying under the radar in the community that should come out and say, we're actually running a business. And I guess what the treasurer is saying is, it's got nothing to do with the zoning bylaw.
No, but I realize that, but if they're not, don't they have to be zoned commercial to do a business like that? We're just saying because you have to be, I don't know, Councilor Trump, go ahead.
Thank you, because now we're talking about basements, a little business in basement. Now, does that change if I want to do something in my garage in the backyard?
Yeah.
Does it run the same thing as the basement now?
Are you gonna turn a blind eye to the person like that is,
Well, that's a good point.
that's what I'm concerned about, go ahead,
I-
go ahead, Councilor Jiguer.
Were you done your thought?
No, I just,
You can finish up.
Okay, sorry.
honestly, I'm just not sure that that's going to affect this bylaw or the implementation of the bylaw. Then again, people are running businesses and I guess there is some potential there, so.
I just had some concerns before we do something. Go ahead, Councilor Jiguer.
Thank you, worship. So it's, I always try to look at things from a different perspective, right? So right now, we're talking about, questioning the bylaw for people that are running a business or a hobby business or any kind of maybe second income out of their house and it not being registered. So what are we telling the individual that went through the proper steps and have licensed businesses in our community?
In commercial zones.
In commercial zonings. And that have all the proper licensing, WSIB papers, insurances, this and that to run their operations. So how is that establishment supposed to compete under, let's say, said person who's flying under that radar? And there's different, different ways to look at it. Now, I understand both sides. But how can we get the people that are operating under that radar to be able to come and be legit without us taking the risk of them needing to be maybe rezoned? Like, is there language in here that could be that if a business is like 2 employees or less and will have an income of less than X amount per year, you're fine with your current zone? I don't know, I'm just.
But then we're opening a can of worms, other things we're going through legally right now.
Exactly, so I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's something that needs to be done. How we get it done, I'm not sure. Because I just think it needs to be even for everyone, and we want to support
Yeah.
all of our businesses. And I think this is something you're gonna see more of in the future with the cost of living and the way things are going. People are looking at how can they make a little bit more money. And so I think I just don't want this to be taken lightly because it's going to affect a large population of our residents.
Councilor Shalabah first and then Councilor Bergen.
Thank you, your worship. It is a tricky scenario. Working from home, somebody could be working, earning 6-7 figures in a digital business. Technically, you're running a business. Somebody else could be running a basement taxidermy business. Again, they're running a business, but it's a different kind. They could be running eventually maybe an Uber or something like that. So the complexion of what's business, what's commercial, there's a lot of gray areas right now. And it doesn't fit the pretty little demarcations that we used to have of, okay, this is residential class 1, commercial class 2. It doesn't fit like that anymore. I think we have to give ourselves some room to grow I know that there's an adage out there that's goes something like, try it and find out. So I think that with the assurance of our treasurer, and I did ask the treasurer earlier today, because I had another concern that not all classes of business are being affected by this particular proposed bylaw, but apparently this would be a phase one, with the phase two to come, is correct. And other classes of businesses like non-retail, for example, would be included. So I think this is, it's tricky, it's not perfect. We don't like to see a perfect document on the table, but life isn't like that. So I think if we're willing to adopt and make changes as we go along, if need be, it's worth a shot.
I just think we're in the middle of a legal thing right now, so, okay, go ahead, Councilor Brunet.
Your worship, I'm just wondering at this point, and again, much like my colleagues here, I very much appreciate the nature of this bylaw and what it can bring to the community and the advantages it can bring, but I'm hearing a lot of questions, and some of which I had myself, and some of which I would have possibly liked to run maybe through our bylaw department, just as a reassurance before we pass this. So maybe my recommendation, if I could, would be to read this the first time this evening. Just allow for our bylaw department to be present and or have some discussion with our bylaw department before we enter this. Again, not that I don't think this is great, and I do appreciate the fact that our treasurer is reassuring us that it's, you know, from a treasury standpoint, you know, where this is going, but I'd just like to have peace of mind of our bylaw. There may be some things like Councillor Jiguer suggested, you know, what is a business? How many people have to be employed in this business? Where can you have these businesses? There's just things we need to cover before we jump into this. And I think, you know, much like we've been kind of trending and doing the past little bit, is just kind of read this for the first time. Not rush into this and really make sure we get it right.
I appreciate that. I kind of agree with you, Councilor Brunet. Councilor Jiguer.
I would second that motion based on two things. One, it will give people from the community who maybe didn't quite understand what the bylaw was to maybe reach out before our next meeting.
Yeah.
And secondly, it'll give the administrative staff here maybe time to reach out. As there seemed to be a little bit of concerns on legal, maybe it will give them time to have that cleared up before the next meeting, so then we can read it a second and possibly a third time at our next.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
My response to that, thank you, yeah, Mayor. On the point of legal, there is no legal issue with the document. That is the first item I would say.
Yeah.
The document is legit, it falls within the act. And there is no legal issue with it. The concern is that some may read into it in a way that people who think they are breaking the zoning bylaw may not come in and register. That is the concern here. There is no legal issue related to this bylaw. Number two, this bylaw is coming as a package. Want to support the 5-year plan that we have, that we are going to pass tomorrow. Number two, we are putting together a business retention, business expansion and retention program, a 90,000 package, which is going to run for 2 years to develop, to talk to, enhance businesses. This is where all what we are discussing now can come in. We are going to work with, with the Chamber of Commerce to nurture those businesses, help them come out of the cubicles and the basement and come to the front line and rent. So yeah, to say, there's something legal about this document, there's none.
We're not saying the document itself is illegal or nothing. We're just saying there's other things that we're doing that we're illegal with.
Okay.
That we're trying to, if we say yes to this, you're gonna turn a blind eye to certain people. You can't be doing that.
I can maybe rephrase my second concern, Your Worship. And my second concern isn't with the document.
No.
My second concern is not that long ago, we've made decisions around this table on other businesses. And I would just like to make sure that we're not contradicting what we decided that night if we approve this evening. That's all I'm trying to stay away from.
Council LaFave?
I understand, sorry, your concern, Mayor Delorier, and the comments that have been made by council members. But I think I have to go with the idea that we have to start this process out. And by deferring it once again, we're just kicking the can down the road. We do that on a regular basis at this council table. And maybe we need to have discussions. I don't have a problem with deferring it, but let's not leave it out there so that we can have public forums and everything else on
I'm not, we're not
this.
saying that.
Let's just get down to it, identify any of the issues and deal with it in short order. So if we're talking about putting this off for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, that's fine. I just don't want to see it go 3 to 6
I
months.
totally agree. I think we all agree with that. Right, so can we take
Yeah,
out?
the motion on the table, I believe, is not to defer, it's to read it a first time.
That's right.
Right? Okay, thanks.
So we have a motion on the table for that.
So it's the mover and the seconder. or-
Councilor Bernie and Councilor Jiguer?
Yeah, with that, then I
Yeah.
can change that motion.
Yes, please.
Okay. So moved by Councilor Charlebois, seconded by Councilor Bernier. That bylaw number 376124, being a bylaw to license, regulate, and govern businesses within the municipality, be read a first time this 29th day of January, 2024.
All in favor? Carried.
Just to clarify though, your worship, the motion was made by Counselor, no? Okay,
Motion was opened.
open. The motion on the table was set by yourself
Yes.
and I seconded.
Yeah.
Just for clarification.
So, yeah.
Well, the original motion, like to read the bylaw first, second, third time, I had Councilor Charlebois.
Okay, that's good, thanks.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, sorry, yeah, it's all good. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. And then we'll get bylaw and legal, we'll look at it. No. The Porpoise Recreation Association, can I get a mover and a second, please? Councilor LaFave and Councilor Jiguer.
Moved by Councilor LaFave, seconded by Councilor Jiguer. That bylaw number 376524, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the Porpoise Recreation Association and the Corporation of the Town of Iroquois Falls for the lease of the Porpoise Community Center, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 29th day of January, 2024.
Discussion, Councilor LaFave.
I noticed that under Schedule A here on A1, what is it, 1.1 F, basic rent for the first year, starting February 1st is $5.50 a month plus HST. If I'm not mistaken, it's to include HST. That was the agreement that we reached, correct?
I agree, but also if Councilor Favor, you're asking the question, I can certainly defer to our finance department for completion.
We agreed that it was including HST.
It is additional to the 550.
When we met with Porpoise Recreation, we agreed that it would be $5.50, including HST. I recall that very clearly.
That was not the wording I got. 550, if they need to add or pay taxes, that is extra.
So at the meeting, we said it was included though.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, that was agreed upon.
Thank you.
We should have clarified it then.
Yes, well, we
I don't wanna
did,
go back
we
on our
did,
word.
we did, and I repeated it a couple of times.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, but other than that, you're happy with the agreement?
Councilor Favor, absolutely. I think this, supports a very strong community organization that provides programming to our community. And I think this just supports them in the many funding and endeavors that they take on. As often, this is something that's required for funding applications.
Yeah, perfect, thanks.
So we'll make a note of that. Any other comments or questions? So with the change, is everybody okay with that? All in favor? Carried. So procedural bylaw, can I get a mover and a seconder for second and third reading? Councilor Shalva, Councilor LaFave.
Moved by Councillor Charlebois, seconded by Councillor LaFave. That bylaw number 3768-24, being a bylaw to establish rules of procedure, be read a second and third time and passed this 29th day of January 2024.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. So correspondence, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Shalva.
Moved by Councillor Jiguer, seconded by Councillor Charlebois, that the following is received as correspondence. Stan Deno, South Centennial Manor redevelopment. Stan Deno, thank you letter to council. Stacy LaChance, clear cutting on Rice Lake Road. Councillor LaFave, financial and operating stability of hospitals. And Earl Porter Lane, meeting minute of January 9th, 2024.
Is there any discussion? Councilor LaFave.
I'd like to, if I could, make a report with regards to item number 4 about the financial operating stability of hospitals now, or do you want me to do it later in council reports? Like you?
Can we do that in council reports, please? The clear cutting on Rice Lake Road, is that an action item we should be looking at?
I could read the letter
I think it'd
if
be
you
good
would like.
if you don't mind reading that one, please.
Okay, so this is a letter addressed to Mayor Delorier. Hello, everyone. I'm writing to you today as I have very recently become aware of a proposal before the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry to clear cut the remaining trees along Rice Lake Road, identified as Clear 190. I am new to Northern Ontario, having purchased a home on Rice Lake in October of 2023. We chose this area for its natural beauty. I have lived in Muskoka, Ontario most of my life, and clear cutting such high visibility, residentially important corridors of forested areas is unheard of. Maintaining the natural landscape, regardless if 50% of the trees have been damaged, is important for many reasons. The natural landscape promotes outdoor enjoyment, stable housing values, wildlife habitats, and good mental health. As a resident, the prospect of driving through a landscape devastated by clear cutting is beyond sad and would likely have affected our decision to purchase here. I am in possession of the letter written by Dr. Tom Bockroth to the MNRF Cochrane District on June 14, 2023. In this letter, Dr. Bockroth recounts that 3 municipal road corridors have received a reprieve from their impending destruction in the form of a 50-meter buffer from the roadside into the harvest areas, and he requests that all municipal roads belonging to Erica Falls receive the same protection. I am requesting the same protection for Rice Lake Road. I understand that time is of the essence, and I welcome the opportunity to speak with you directly. I implore you to protect which cannot be replaced and becomes a showcase of destruction for our community. Yours sincerely, Stacy LaChance.
So I know we do have a letter to the Ministry of Natural Resources in 11D. So maybe we can discuss that, some of that letter with that item, if that's okay with the rest of council. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So any other comments or questions? Councilor Jiguer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for the Airport Lanes meeting, they forgot, I guess they forgot to include me in their meeting invite, so I missed the meeting. It's been rectified with myself and Elizabeth King already, but I wasn't there because I didn't know.
No, appreciate that. No, thanks for bringing us.
All right.
And Councilor LaFave will give us some rundown on his letter. So all in favor? Carried. Council approves a request from Adam Boucher for an in-kind contribution for his tournament that he held. It's a second annual, and like I say, it's a great cause, and can we get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Bernier.
Moved by Councillor Jiguer, seconded by Councillor Bernier, that council approves the request from Adam Boucher for an in-kind contribution valued at $1,918.35 for the Scotty and Devo hockey tournament.
Let Director Finner speak on this, please.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, kind of as stated in the letter. This is the second annual charity event, which is for an incredible cause towards mental health. I think the tournament was a great success last year, and it's looking, they're looking to build upon that this year. And I believe this is something that was approved by the council in their inaugural year as well.
That's right. So my only one other question is this to the Treasury Department. I believe this won't affect our donation line, right? Just wanted to confirm. Okay, perfect. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Jiguer.
Thank you, worship. As much of other organizations and charities that run in this community, I did take part in this one last year, and I will say it was well organized.
Yeah.
They showcase the town very well. It's for a good cause. And we need to stand behind these groups that continue to do these works, and they make our community a better place.
And I was there for opening ceremonies, and like I say, hats off to everybody involved. It was emotional too, but you know what I mean? It was for a good cause, and I really think we should support this myself. Councilor Bernier.
Thank you, worship. Much as was kind of echoing Councilor Jiguer, did a pleasure participating in this event as well last year. It's a great event. Two people that most of our community know very well. And hats off to Adam and his group who have put this together, put together a great event last year, and looking forward to being a part of it this year. My age is catching up to me, so I'll probably take on a different role, maybe as a referee this year rather than a player, but in my opinion, your worship, we could probably just, I would just say, look at giving them the exact same thing we gave them last year. It's not something that like you mentioned, doesn't affect our donation line. It's just a reduction in cost, giving them the dead ice rate instead of prime rate, which to me, this is a no-brainer. And I think maybe Director Finner can let us know through the changes we've seen last week with the new user fees. It probably tweaked that number a little bit, but few dollars extra, but at the end of the day, I think that would be a great move on our side.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So the next one is the council meeting schedule for 2024. Can I get a move and second, please? Councilor Tremblay and Councilor Charlebois.
Moved by Councillor Tremblay, seconded by Councillor Charlebois, that the 2024 council meeting schedule is adopted.
All in favor? Carried.
I think,
Councilor.
I think it might be worthwhile mentioning that the original schedule starting at 6:30 was printed in the enterprise. I think it's important. Are we going to be reprinting the new schedule?
Yes, we're just waiting for it to be adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna talk about the Minister Natural Resources and Forestry letter. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor LaFaille and Councilor Jiguer. I'm gonna get Madam Clerk to read it, please. Thank you very much.
So this letter is titled Protecting Our Valued Forested Areas and Waterways Within Our Municipality. The Erica Falls Community Forest Committee, IFC-FC, has been working with the Town Council and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry to help protect some of the more socially valued forested areas and waterways within our municipality. Several recent forest management practices have caused members of our Town Council to become concerned about how some operators seemingly and blatantly have disregarded the negotiated settlements reached between the IFC-FC and the acting regional director during negotiations for the 2022-32 forest management plan for the Abitibi River Forest. The IFC-FC, an advisory council to the town council, asked the MNRF in a letter dated June 14th, 2023, to mandate a 50-meter tree buffer along all municipal roads abutting Crown land moving forward. Unfortunately, no response was provided to the IFCFC. As a private landowner with jurisdiction over our roads, the town council fully supports this request. The rationale for this is as follows. First, tree buffers help protect our roads from blowing snow and the consequent ice buildup during our long winters. The open fields left adjacent to our roads and highways due to clear cutting are one of the causes of increasing costs to our public works department in terms of additional fuel consumption, equipment wear and tear, and wages. Our employees must return several times per day during snow events to maintain road standards to protect the traveling public. This also creates a health and safety hazard as they must place themselves at risk on our highways multiple times per day, getting to and from the sites that are in most need of attention, sometimes during blizzard conditions. Other considerations are that tree buffers between roads, open fields, and forested areas serve as travel corridors for wildlife, help prevent soil erosion, act as carbon sinks, and are aesthetically pleasing. Tree buffers also help maintain the quality of our waterways by filtering toxins and controlling water flow from runoff. It appears that the MNRF is allowing harvesting to be aggressively applied to socially valued areas in much of the north while neglecting its legislated responsibilities to give equal consideration to the recreational and health-related values that residents hold for their local forests. The value directly related to profits from logging is being unfairly prioritized. Given the increasing amount of public attention directed at how our Canadian boreal forests have been devastated in recent decades and the direct impact of climate change this has caused, we maintain that it is time to focus more on the social factors that are presently identified in provincial legislation as part of the forest management planning process. The Council for the Town of Iroquois Falls is concerned about climate change related anxiety among our youth and the legacy we are leaving for them. We feel it is important to set an example of good stewardship for them to respect and to model when they become society's leaders. As such, the Town of Iroquois Falls is hereby formally requesting that 50-meter tree buffers be granted from the edge of all forest stands along Crown land adjacent to town roads and highways slated for future logging operations within its corporate boundaries. I also wish to note here that the town is very concerned about the method by which the contingency harvest on Clerg Block 190 is now being considered a salvage operation. Although we appreciate the ministry's and FRMG's effort in consulting with representatives from the town and the Iroquois Falls Community Forest Committee at a site visit this past week, we look forward to hearing of the proposed harvest prescriptions for this area very shortly. Should any harvest of this area be approved, we need to consider how that will impact the surrounding area, much of which has already been harvested. We are concerned about how any proposed harvesting operation may negatively affect property values at Rice Lake and more generally in Iroquois Falls as a whole. Finally, I wish to state that the town has confidence in the Iroquois Falls Community Forest Committee to represent its interests in the forest management planning process and would encourage the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry to continue working directly with the organization to achieve our common objectives, even if this FMP is being implemented on our landscape. I look forward to the ministry's positive response to this request at its earliest convenience. Sincerely, Mayor Delory for the Town of Iroquois Falls.
So at this time, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess, please. So after our clerk read this letter, is there any discussion? Council LaFave.
I think this letter pretty well highlights the discussion we had 2 weeks ago with regards to what we were talking about at that point. And it was penned by both Mr. Baccarat and so I think that it's important that, and of course by yourself, I know that you.
Our staff has been looking
Staff
at
was relying on working with Dr. Baccarat, so I think it certainly addresses the issues that were raised, and I think these are issues that we talked about at our last meeting. Well covered by this letter.
Any other discussion? Council Jiguer.
Thank you, Worship. I guess just a couple of comments, like I just read this for the first time as Maureen was reading it for us, and thank you for that. Yeah, like the beginning of the letter for me is I read it in a negative impact, like you guys chose not to do it. Instead of asking the question, why did you choose not to do it? And what can we do moving forward, working together to make sure that you don't? But you blatantly, disregard it. It's like right there, in paragraph 1, we're setting the tone for the email. I don't take it as an inviting email. I take it as you did something bad and now you better fix it, right? And for the life of me, I can't understand why the MNRF and the government wouldn't be ready to sit down with all the parties and come up with something that, suits all parties. Usually you reach a great deal when nobody's happy. And, asking for a blanket 50 meters and asking for this, I think it's going to be tough because, as we don't like to set precedents, I'm sure they're the same way. They don't like to set precedents. So when we look at this as a package and we're saying we want it on everywhere, I don't know how, receptive this letter will be as opposed to saying, we would like the opportunity to sit with you on a block by block basis when it's within our municipality, see how it's going to affect us and how we can come to terms on agreeing on how to harvest that block. We're saying we want a blanket, this is what you're gonna do. And the one question I ask every time we get into these letters that hasn't been answered to me yet is when we ask for these, if we get it, who is going to be responsible for that 50 meters that stays up? So if it's by the power lines, if it's by the ditches, or if those trees start to fall, who's responsible for picking them up? We asked for the 50 meters, so is that gonna fall on us? Or does it still fall on the Abitibi Forestry Group to go pick it up? Who does it fall on? Because I'm not against tree buffers. I'm not against buffers. I think they serve a great purpose if they're utilized to their potential and what they're supposed to do, but again, I believe every situation is a little different. So when you ask for a blanket of this is what we want, I think it'll be tough to get. And secondly, who is responsible for that 50 meters? Is it us? Is it the government? And if we're gonna take the liability on that 50 meters, depending on the maturity, the species of that wood, what way the wind's blowing, what way the block is facing. The trees start falling on power lines, this and that. And then if hydro calls, whatever, hey, you guys gotta cut your trees. Town air policy said not to touch them. That's what worries me when we get into these, who is liable for the 50 meters? And no one has answered me that from the first time I've asked that question. That's why I have a hard time with these letters.
Any other councilor, Council LaFave?
Well, there might be other comments.
Is there other comments first before I go to Council LaFave? Council LaFave.
Okay, number one, who is responsible? Certainly not the municipality because the forests belong to the people of Ontario. We are simply asking to protect our assets, which are our roads, and to reduce our costs of maintenance. I look at the first paragraph and what you referred to was that there seems to be some sort of an accusation here. What the letter actually says is that several recent forest management practices have caused members of town council to be concerned about how some operators seemingly and blatantly have disregarded the negotiated settlements reached between the IFCFC and the actual acting regional director at the time. It's not an accusation against the ministry. It's a statement of fact. This is what happened. And we shouldn't allow it to happen in our community. And if we had the 50-meter buffer that the ministry actually communicated directly with those people, which we were told it was in this one case, then what the heck is going on? Why is this being ignored by the operator? That's the real issue here. As far as 50 meters is concerned, because they gave us 50 meters during the negotiation process 2 years ago now, we are asking for the same consideration for other roads. I'm not saying, and I don't think that for the IFCFC is looking to have 50 meters, doesn't matter what the forest type is, because I honestly believe that if you're in a black spruce or a white spruce forest, you don't need 50 meters. You might get away with 10 meters. You might get away with 5 meters, but there has to be something there. So this 50 meters basically says, we're going to start there. What, you know, can we negotiate that, get that first, and then we can work on the details, especially when we're dealing with Crown land, and Crown land belongs to the people of Ontario. And if they affect our roads and we have to pay for additional maintenance costs and put our operators at risk in the middle of the snowstorm, getting out there, I think we have a due diligence that we have to look after that. And I think that's what takes priority. As far as power lines are concerned, there's always a right of way around power lines. Trees grow, trees fall down. Who goes and picks up trees in a 50-meter buffer along roadside? Let me tell you, it goes for firewood pretty fast around here. You don't have to worry about dead trees laying there, starting fires. So in terms of a liability, I would suggest there really is no liability in this case. And besides that, we had this discussion 2 weeks ago. Pretty sure that we all agreed that this was the type of letter that needed to go out, based on the letter that Dr. Vockroth put out on behalf of the IFCFC last spring. The only other thing that was in addition to that was added to this letter was the issues around Rice Lake. And yes, we've had discussions with Rice Lake, with the Forest Resource Management Group, who happened to be the forest management planner. M&R was there, people from the IFCFC, and people from Rice Lake who actually live out there. And there's no guarantees that the ministry is going to honor the requests of the residents or the IFCFC. We know, we've been in negotiations with the ministry in the past, and people who have had to have their properties clear cut right up to their backyard, they have a little bit of a concern. And unless you know the system and how it works, then you have to play by their rules. And you have to know that when they're planning a forest management plan, it's for the next 10 years. And once that plan is set in motion, there's not much you can do to stop it, except having some lobbying efforts to say, wait a minute, can we talk? And that's what this is all about, in any event. I'll leave it there.
Okay, any other, Councilor Brandon?
Question for Councilor Dave. When you bring the example of the black spruce, white spruce, maybe needing less buffer, is that the intention of the IFCFC, is to negotiate those things on a as needed basis? Like, is that not, like, I know right now they're not being very receptive, and this is the nature of this letter, but is that something that you guys plan on bringing forward in, you know, when the time comes to be cutting those types of forests? Like, is it something that's initiated or that you guys have initiated in the past to date?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, if you don't mind, Mayor, I mean, that was part of the discussion. That's how come we ended up getting 3 roads designated with 50-meter buffers in the negotiation process. So yes, I mean, ultimately, that's what it's all about. It's negotiating. It's IFCFC that did that, right, on behalf of the community. Do I think it should be the IFCFC? I think the community should take responsibility as well and say, we don't really want to see clear cuts right to our roads. And that's what this letter is all about, really. So, you know, I think it's incumbent on both the community as in the first place, but in this case, because the IFCFC is recognized by this council as an advisory committee, then they will continue doing their work. But I think to have them do their work and make these proposals and have, and let's say if council decided not to support their recommendations, then what's the point of having an advisory committee in the first place, who, by the way, have years and years of experience in forest management planning? And there's other people who have interests in maintaining the aesthetic value of forests within our community. So, yeah, I hope I've answered your question.
No, that's perfect. Any other comments or questions from council? Councilor Shalwa first.
Thank you, your worship. I'll start by apologizing to Councilor Page, because I should have looked a little closer at this when the package first came out, or at least when we first kind of drew a copy of it. I do agree that some of the words used are a little bit rough, accusatory. I think that with minimal tweaking, the letter would be more to my liking. The issue of responsibility for buffer zones, I think that's a good question. I don't know if Councilor Fagan would answer if his response was based on a subjective opinion, or if it's subjectively fact-based, that there would be no liability for us, because I truly don't know. I think that's a good question. As such, I think that just a little bit of tweaking of this letter would be in order, and I would move that it be deferred to a next meeting to give us time to do a quick review, revision, and possibly do some checking into the thing about the responsibility of the buffers.
So my only concern, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was wondering if we can send a letter in response to Rice Lake, just so that we get the government to hold on. So just meet with us or whatever we have to do, but I really think we have to send something out to the ministry right now. I have no complaints about deferring anything. I think it's a great idea. But in the meantime, can we send a letter saying, please give us more time to make your decision on Rice Lake? I think that's very important. Councilor Jiguer first, then Councilor Five.
Thank you, your worship. So maybe like the last little paragraph here, finally we wish state that Town of Crawl have confidence in York Falls CFC. And I think, we do. And I do appreciate what you're doing and the information that they bring back to us and all that, but like such as if they met with Rice Lake already and, the Abitibi Forest was in attendance in that. I think that those are the things where we need to make sure that there's somebody from the town that is also at those meetings, right? To show the ministry that we are involved and we are committed to, to a sustainable forest, because if they were at that meeting and now we want to write an email to basically solidify what was done at that meeting, maybe somebody from the town should have been there already. Like, yeah, this committee is an advisory committee for us.
But administration, you're talking.
But somebody needs to be there to make sure that our due diligence is also being done and to support these groups in their efforts and what they're doing. So if Rice Lake is a big priority right now, I think a simple letter of, asking them to come to the table and that we support the initiative of Rice Lake absolutely needs to go out. And such as Councillor Shalva stated, with very minor tweaking here, I would support this letter. And secondly, though, I would like to guarantee that the Abitibi Forest Group isn't going to come back on the community and tell us that we're liable for those trees on that 50 meters, because that's the concern I have.
Go ahead, Councilor Five.
I would, if I could, rather than defer, why don't we set up a subcommittee of the two people who have major concerns or minor concerns apparently with the letter, so that this letter can go out this week, rather than split it up so that we're dealing with 50 meters and we're dealing with Rice Lake and two different communications to the ministry. Why don't we just set you two people down and redraft and take out whatever you think is appropriate, and we can send out, we could give them, as long as you're okay with the final result, by all means, send it out. As long as the
Working committee.
Yeah, just a working group to be able to put this thing together so we can go out this week. I mean, the ministry could come in and easily make this fact tomorrow and the clear cut is done. It's not gonna take more than a week to devastate that road out there. So that's what I would suggest. Number two,
Go ahead.
Number two, you should always keep in mind that volunteers in this community are one of our biggest assets, and that we should respect the work that they do on behalf of the community. And this organization certainly is one of those. In terms of having staff there and representation from the town, I was there as liaison to the IFCFC and had discussions with the ministry and with the FRMG as well. And Director Pelican was there on behalf of the town as well.
Well, thank you
So
for that.
it's not like the town was blind to what was going on.
I appreciate the feedback. Councilor Jiguer first.
I'd be more than happy to sit down with whoever but I think it's a good letter. I just think the first paragraph, it doesn't set the tone that I would like to set when you're trying to ask anybody for something.
Sure.
So, I'm not saying what needs to be changed, just a couple of words, blatantly disregarded, like, we can still ask that question, right? But maybe just a little softer, right? We have great concerns as of, this block, so said agreement was not followed. And we'd like to know why, and moving forward, what can reassure us that it's gonna happen, but
And I really want to focus on Rice Lake a little bit more.
absolutely, because as Counselor LaFave said, there could be a machine there tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like that's what they can do, right? So, I'm fine with even if we had to stay back even 15 minutes tonight after the meeting to get it done.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Even a better idea.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Councilor Bernier first.
Your worship, much as my fellow councilors, I think that, a couple of softer words could definitely be added to change the tone of the letter, especially in the opening.
Yeah.
I understand the way this is written. We want to be demanding out of the ministry because they have not really acknowledged us at this point. But in respects to administration's time and everything else, especially because, we want this tweak, but we also want something to go for the Rice Lake matter right now, instead of having them rewrite a whole other letter and then tweak this one. If these gentlemen would be able and ready and willing to do that, I would definitely, put my trust in them and yourself, your worship, to back that up and have this gone in a one-shot matter and get this shipped off. Because the idea of the letter, most of the content is perfect. A friendly tweak would be appreciated, but I think, like Councilor Jiguer said, if we can just have them do this and get it done for everybody's sake here,
So,
and save our staff some time.
Perfect. Thank you for your comments, Councilor. So can we ask that Councilor Charlebois, Jiguer, the five stay after the meeting to tweak it if that's possible for about 15-20 minutes?
Sure.
And then the following day, I can sign off on it. You know what I mean? Does that work for everybody? Okay, thank you. Do we move in a second?
For a seconder, or was Counselor LaFave and Counselor Jiguer? Would you like me to read the motion?
Yes, please.
So moved by Counselor LaFave, seconded by Counselor Jiguer, that council approve the letter written to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry with amendments that will be made upon review by Counselor LaFave, Counselor Jiguer, and Counselor Charlebois.
And the mayor would sign off the following day.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
does that make sense? Is everybody okay with that? Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. So, wait, here. Then you move in a second. Yeah, can you get a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Charlebois.
Moved by Counselor Jiguer, seconded by Counselor Charlebois, that the following is received as correspondence. Letter to Mayor and Council from Enbridge President Michelle Harridan.
Is there any discussion?
what's the proposal on this?
So-
This is just a letter for information?
So we'd like, yeah, for information, but I'd like for our staff to review it. And then come back to our next meeting in February to give us a little bit of a rundown on what's the letter all about. Cause it's like a 60-page document that we just received on the weekend, I believe, right?
Yeah, and if I may, Mayor Glory, it was requested that in urgence that we put this on our agenda for tonight. That's why it went on as an amendment. However, the document is so considerably long that it wouldn't have been fair to put that, the whole thing as an amendment onto the agenda.
So it just seems to me that, our staff is already saddled with a lot of work. And now we have to review, what did you say, a 60-page document? In support of Enbridge, of all organizations that are making a little bit of money on the backs of the residents of Ontario. So, I mean, I don't mind helping out, like in terms of economic development issues, but I mean, if what this is the town of Iroquois Falls, town council, becoming politically active against, let's say, the federal liberal environmental policies. I'm not so sure that that's something that we want to get involved in.
Yeah.
But anyway, that could come as a recommendation, but I mean, that's my initial gut feeling on this. And I'm not so sure that we should move directly to that kind of action.
Was there an actual ask, or they just wanted us to get the letter?
If I may, they're asking for a letter in support. So the letter that this Michelle Harridan,
Can you
the
read it?
president, yeah, I'll read the letter.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So the letter is directed to your worship and members of council. I am writing to inform you of our concerns with the Ontario Energy Board's decision on phase 1 of the Enbridge Gas 2024 rebasing application issued on December 21st, 2023. The disappointing decision puts future access to natural gas in doubt and sets a deliberate course to eliminate natural gas from Ontario's energy mix. This decision is about the millions of Ontarians who rely on natural gas to keep their homes warm, and the many businesses throughout Ontario who depend on natural gas for day-to-day operation. Our 2024 rate rebasing application was designed to provide our customers with safe and reliable natural gas at a reasonable rate. In addition to measured steps to help Ontario advance a practical transition to a sustainable energy future. Natural gas plays a critical role in Ontario's energy evolution mix while supporting the reliability of Ontario's electricity system. Natural gas meets 30% of Ontario's energy needs, which cannot be easily or quickly replaced. We are taking action to secure the future of natural gas in your communities. We are filing a motion in late January to review evidence with the OEB and seeking a judicial review of this decision. Without natural gas, communities across Ontario will feel the impacts of this decision in their everyday lives. The stakes are high. Energy affordability, those looking to connect to natural gas will be required to pay an upfront fee, which creates a significant financial barrier to all forms of residential and commercial development. This resulting fee adds thousands of dollars to individual consumers' cost to obtain or expand gas service. Economic growth. This decision will put economic developments in your community at risk. The decision limits the ability of future expansion projects to support regional investment to meet the ever-growing energy needs in your community and communities across Ontario. That includes greenhouses, grain dryers, industrial parks, and any new businesses or housing developments seeking access to natural gas. Energy access. Preserving customer choice is critical. Constraining access to natural gas through a reduction in capital will significantly limit the future development of essential energy infrastructure vital to moving, manufacturing, agriculture, and the consumer goods industry in Ontario. Energy security. On an annual basis, natural gas delivers twice the energy to Ontario than electricity. and 5 times the maximum peak capacity of Ontario's electricity grid at a quarter of the cost. Even in the worst weather conditions, our reliable natural gas system delivers. As local leaders across the province, your voice matters, and we encourage you to take action. Reach out to your MPP to share your support for the government's quick action and write to the OEB about the consequences of reduced access to natural gas grid to support economic development, housing growth, energy reliability. Use your voice to acknowledge the need for natural gas and infrastructure in Ontario today and into the future while we take a measured step towards energy transition. We ask that you reach out to your municipal advisor or find us at municipalaffairs@enbridge.com to get started. Sincerely, Michelle Harridans, President of Enbridge Gas.
Well, any comments or questions from council? So what's council wish? Council five.
I mean, I think if staff wants to waste their time wading through this political document, they're more than welcome to do that in their spare time.
Yeah.
However, you know, they're right. I mean, natural gas keeps our houses warm in the wintertime. And it's also keeping our greenhouse gases flowing and our environment nice and warm too. I mean, we can all see what this January looks like here in Niagara Falls. You know, the oil industry does not want to reduce production of their product because of increasing greenhouse gas emissions. The forest industry want to keep on cutting trees because they're making money off of the forests. And the mining industry don't want any restrictions on their right to continue their polluting activities. But at some point in time, we have to say, we don't need to get into that argument. I don't disagree that there's going to be an impact, definitely. But should we be moving in that direction to try to protect our environment and future generations? I think we really have to consider that, you know, as a grand, on the larger scale of things. But anyway, yeah, like I said, it's just my comments.
That's why I want council to comment, see what we're gonna do. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Jiguer.
To me, it looks like there's a quick action link here to probably give your support. I think it, you know, as much as I do agree with Councillor Lefebvre here on, I don't think it's up to us. But I think every resident here should have their own voice. And maybe we should just put this, you know, on our website. And if people choose to click on the link and want to support it or not support it, they can do so individually.
Yeah. That's the way.
And that's the way that we can show the support of them.
Bad idea.
And you have,
Bill
Greenway.
Go ahead, Mr. Greenway.
Having actually gone through this, it's not 60 pages, it's 69 pages,
How many?
69,
69?
yeah. So the important link here is right at the top, where it says the Ontario Energy Board's decision on phase 1 of the Enbridge 2024 rebasing application. That's where the gist of all the conversation is in there. I'd really highly recommend, like, when you just referred to residents, and they should read that. And that actually will give them a very, very clear idea of the separation between the two factions here. So you have the OEB on one hand, you have the Enbridge Gas on the other, and they're completely diametrically opposed. And the language is strong in there, like, I mean, politically motivated all the way through there. And I have to say that, you know, if I think it goes to Councilor Lefebvre's initial comments, they were right on. You're going to get into a political disagreement, basically, no matter what you do here. So, and then going to Councilor Giguère's, you know, last words, let the residents
read it and decide for themselves, and they can respond to the OEB directly through the link. But I would really highly recommend that the people read that. Yeah, 69 pages, but the language, wow.
Just for clarification, that 69-page document, does that come from Enbridge, their arguments against the OEB ruling? Or is it the OEB's rationale as to why they want to phase out as much as they can?
This was what they call a decision order from the OEB,
Okay,
and it's a phase 1
okay.
on it. So there is a phase 2, which hasn't been undergone yet. But I guess Enbridge is going to appeal it. So no matter what takes place here, no matter how we intercede, this goes way beyond, you know, the ability of council to directly, like, I mean, maybe if the 444 municipalities that are in here get together and say, this is the direction that we want to go, there may be some, you know, action, but right now it's a lot bigger than what.
So really, this belongs with AMO and big organizations like that. They're taking this on. Yeah. Go ahead.
And if you read Minister Smith's comment, you know, he's very clear on the position, and ultimately this is far from over, this conversation. Ultimately, this was a split decision around the table. And the minister, even who is highly involved in the OEB, has made his sentiment very clear as well. So as Bill said, this is far from over. You know, I think we're gonna definitely have to wait and see. Obviously, we want to support our residents, and I have to agree, giving them the capability, the advocacy to have their voice heard is a good thing.
So we're all okay with putting this on our website and Facebook page, wherever, and let it go? Okay.
I'm sure a whole lot of our residents are gonna want to sit down and read that 69-page document.
Thank you, Councilor LaFleur, for those kind words. So we'll move on. So we'll go to councilor reports. We'll start off with Councilor Shaw.
Thank you, Bishop. I think about council meetings, various related meetings, chamber of commerce meetings. I'm going to speak a little bit of something that I'm not specifically assigned to, but I think it's pretty great importance to the community. And it's about the Bill Harkins Eugene Retired Santa Claus Fund, otherwise known as Christmas Telethon. It's been running for 40 years. The telethon returned to a live venue for its 2023 event, first time since 2019, pre-COVID. In 2022, the committee had issued $18,000 worth of vouchers to those in need for Christmas time, and it only raised about $16,000. And anticipating that there was going to be an increase in need and demand for these vouchers, there was a expectation of a 50% increase. Telethon committee set a new target for the 2023 telethon of $28,000. I'm pleased to report that with the generosity of the community, individual citizens, of civic and fraternal organizations like the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 70, the River Falls Lions, agencies and corporate donors such as CVSAB and Ceteris, that the committee has raised over $29,000 to help the less fortunate at Christmas time, as well as victims of disasters such as house fires and the like. So kudos to that organization. The chairing organization for the committee this year was the Royal Canadian Legion. Thanks to all those who supported, and it's my understanding that tax receipts should be going out by email probably within a week. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Councilor Bernie.
Thank you, worship. Additional to all meetings, council meetings, regular meetings attended, I've been spending a lot of my time working on the carnival, the winter carnival aspect of the Air Falls Festival Events Committee. So the carnival will be coming up. Obviously, we'll be launching a lot of information, local papers on Facebook. I believe the launch of the Facebook page has started. very, very pleased with the work that's been put together by the group so far. Our carnival looks like it's gonna be very similar to last year, and the group's goals this year are to take what we've put on foot and enhance it and make it bigger and better, and it looks like it's headed that way. I'm very excited. Some very interesting music groups coming to York Falls for our annual show. Other than that, been in communication with the recreation department. Wanted to congratulate the department on the hiring of Mr. Steve Belanger returning to town. I think it's a great asset for the community, be a great addition to Mr. Finner's team. And hopefully, much as Steve left the department when he did leave, we'll hopefully see his eagerness right back in the office and back on pace to do great things for our community, such as he was. And he has actually attended our last carnival meeting as well. It's something that he was on the carnival committee for years when he left, and he had expressed some interest. The group opted to bring him back as a resource to the group. So he will definitely help us out as a hand in that. And other than that, that's been mostly where my energy has been focused over and above our regular council duties as the carnival is rapidly approaching. Just a quick note to some community members who may be willing to spread some wealthy sponsorship packages for the winter carnival have been going out. And if you haven't received one in a business that would like to contribute, just reach out to myself or American Laurier, and we can arrange that. I think most of the business will be hit this week, but if you haven't heard from them, from us, then please reach out.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you very much. Councilor Trombley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attend various meetings for town council on December 21st, January 9th, 15th, and 17th. And 2 productive events committee meetings, January 11th and the 23rd. And I'd like to take a minute to, we had 3 retirees from the fire department, my fellow firefighters, and I'd like to congratulate them and thank them for their service. Assistant Deputy Chief John Martins for 35 years. Captain Craig Deaver for 25 years and Mark Dubé for 23 years. Thank you very much for your service. Appreciate it. Enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Trombley. Councilor Lafayette?
Thank you, Mayor Delorier. Of course, I attended all of our regular and special meetings. Also attended the Arts Council meeting, had a strategic planning session last week. I think they're doing some great work. The library board, we met last week. We didn't have a quorum, so we'll be meeting again tomorrow. The mixed board of directors, we met last week, and I would like to highlight some of the issues around that and the situation that we find ourselves in at that board. I'll comment on that just a little bit later. We are, so you've appointed me to the worker bees, doctor physician recruitment committee. We're working really hard right now to try to get a contract up and running so that we can get a recruiter on the ground, because there are graduating classes that are coming up this spring that we need to have representation at. No better way of doing it. So we're working collaboratively between the 3 municipalities right now, and I'm really encouraged by the work that we're doing together. I attend meetings. I know this isn't part of my responsibilities as a member here, but about the Denali Lake high level disaster. Of course, we've been meeting with ministry people on that, and there is documentation and communications that are still going back and forth between the ministry and the Denali Lake steering committee. So there's still stuff that needs to be done out there. Of course, I mentioned earlier, the MNR met with the MNR and the Forest Management Planning author and members of the IFCFC a couple of weeks ago about the Rice Lake Road Forest. So back to mix and the situation that we find ourselves in there. I gotta tell you right off the bat, and this is just there was stuff that was actually a letter that came to my attention, and I shared with council members, and it was in your agenda package. I hope you've had a chance to read it. And despite the rosy picture that the Ford government seems to continue to send articles into our into our enterprise, for example, about how much money they're spending and how much effort they're putting into supporting the healthcare system in Ontario, the reality is quite different. Yeah, they're putting money in, but it's not keeping up to the amount of money that's required to maintain a system that is really falling apart right now and has been for years, by the way. So according to the letter that was delivered by the Ontario Hospital Association, virtually all hospitals in Ontario are in pretty dire financial situation. And due to lack of adequate funding over many, many years, this isn't just since the Conservatives took over, the Liberals did it for years before that. They keep the contributions to healthcare in Ontario approximately between 1% and 2%, whereas the costs to maintain hospitals in the province is anywhere between 5% and 6% every year. So what's happened is all of the money that most hospitals were able to build due to their fundraising efforts, due to contributions from people who donated, all of those reserve funds are basically gone. And in Niagara Falls is no different. There is a small reserve fund that's left, but we owe more than what's in the reserve fund, and that's as of this fiscal year. I don't know how the heck we're going to do it next year. Honestly, it's that bad. So until and unless the ministry actually kicks in the level of funding that's going to make sense. Like, for example, as you're probably aware, there was Bill 124 that the Ford government enacted, where they were going to pay their healthcare workers 1% increase in wages, even though inflation was running at 2% and 3%. And there was a ruling by the Ontario Municipal Board, the Labor Board, I gather, and where they awarded decent raises for the three unions that do healthcare in Ontario: the Ontario Nurses Association, the SEIU, Service Employees International Union, and QP Ontario, who basically provide all the services. And so ONA, the amount of money that went to ONA reps, they got fully funded. The other two unions, for whatever reason, the government decided, well, we're not going to bother with that. And if we do, it's certainly not going to be at 100% of the costs that were awarded by the arbitrator. So that leaves the hospitals on the hook to pay the differential in wages. It's impossible. There's no way that we can do it, not locally, not provincially. So that's how bad it is right now. Some of the costs, for example, some of the statistics that are truly staggering when you read through the letter. Before the COVID pandemic started in 2020, Ontario had fewer hospital beds than any other province per 1,000 population. And interestingly enough, fewer than any other country tracked by the Organization of Economic Development and Cooperation. How is that possible in one of the biggest, well, the biggest and probably richest province in Canada, if it's not based on ideology? So based on our ongoing and aging, growing population, the funding levels simply have not kept the pace with inflation or those levels, the number of immigrants that we have in Ontario alone is enough to sink the system. Agency nursing costs last year. And agency nursing, by the way, hospitals have to provide a certain number of nurses for the hospital on all the shifts. You can't say, well, we don't have that many people in the beds, occupying beds this week, so we're just going to tell everybody to stay home. And it just doesn't happen that way. So you have to have a certain number of people there. So the problem is of course, they haven't trained enough nurses. Nurses have left the hospital environment to go work elsewhere. And interestingly enough, a lot of them have gone to something called agency nursing organizations who provide services to fill the gaps. In 2022-23 fiscal year, the cost to mixed group just for agency nurses was $2.5 million. This year, in the first 2/3 of the year to the end of November, we're already over $3 million. 2/3 of the year in. So by the end of this fiscal year, which is March 31st, I expect that we're going to be in pretty bad financial condition. I know we already are, but I mean, that's how bad it is. So there's a whole bunch of other things that I could go on and report on, but it's a serious financial dilemma. And somehow, we have to figure out a way. I think the province has to figure out a way because there's no way that things are going to get any better unless there's a significant input in terms of financial support from the Ontario government. So that's all I have to say on the issue right now. If there's any questions, by all means.
I have a question. So in our hospital, Oak Falls, Anson, we are losing services such as physio.
Yep.
Because of these cuts.
Yep.
So we're losing, there's gonna be more cuts, I'm assuming, right? So it's not a healthy situation we're in right now. So is there a way we can write a letter eventually, maybe bring it up to our next meeting? Come up with a letter and maybe other mayors and maybe get AMO to back us to do something like this.
Well, the CEOs of northern hospitals are talking regularly about this because just about every hospital across Ontario is in a similar situation. There are some hospital boards that are just throwing up their hands and saying, you know what, we're just gonna go bankrupt. You know, there's a law in Ontario for hospital boards that said you have to balance your budget. Well, the last couple of years, the government of Ontario has turned a blind eye to balance budgets because they know it's impossible. I just don't know what the long-range strategy is. So the Ontario Hospital Association is working very clearly. If you read that letter that's in the package, you'll see that they're not mincing any words. You know, the mayor's letter to the Ministry of Natural Resources is nothing compared to reading what that letter is all about, because that's true, that's real, and that's the way things are happening. So, you know, the answer to your question is AMO needs to talk about it. I think Neoma needs to talk about it. Phenom needs to talk about it. And I think this is the time to go political with this thing, right? Remember that the next election is just a little over 2 years away. And if there's any going to be at any time to be able to put pressure on the provincial government to pony up, it's time to start.
Councilor Jiguer.
Thanks, if I can, your worship, so are those numbers, is that for the hospital only, or does that include the manor as well?
Manor as well. The manor is actually doing pretty good. The problem is the hospitals.
You know, I just was wondering.
Well, see, the thing is nurses are leaving the hospital to go work at the manor. So the manor doesn't have a problem with their agency nurses, the hospitals do. You see, but it doesn't matter because it's all part of mix, right? And it's mix that's going under. So.
And can you explain to council about the travel costs we have to pay for? And stuff
We
like
have,
that?
we supply these agency nurses and locum doctors that come here with housing, travel expenses, et cetera, et cetera. And the rates that we pay them is unbelievable. So I don't want to quote them because I know that they just renegotiated the deal with the agency nurses. But I know that they're well over $100 an hour. They're 2 to 2.5 times more than what we pay our regular nurses. So it doesn't make any sense. And when the question was posed to the Ministry of Health in the legislature, the answer was, well, we don't interfere with private business. But it's sinking the hospital system, but we don't interfere with private business. Anyway, that was the answer. Good political answer.
Councilor Jiguer, question?
Well, it's more, I'll just finish up with a comment on it. I agree with Councillor Fave that we need to take action now because we're one of those communities looking at enlarging hopefully a manor. So, in your analogy, I think we're taking a big problem and it's gonna become even bigger.
Yep.
You know, that deficit's gonna grow if we need more nurses, more doctors. And as much as we think it's gonna help attract the couple, I'm sure, and I hope it will, but that means this problem only gets bigger. If the new manor were to pop up tomorrow, that number would be, I don't even want to take a guess how much bigger it would be. So if we're gonna be, taking our money and investing into a project, there's no time like the present then to get on this.
Yeah, thank you. Now we'll ask Councilor Jiguer for his update, please.
Well, just one last thing based on what Councilor Jiguer said as well, is that highlights the very real need that we have to do physician recruitment, both nurses, doctors, and any of the other healthcare providers that we could possibly bring into the community and into the region, to the mixed group. So anyway.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Councilor Jiguer.
Thank you, Your Worship. As all of my other fellow councillors here, I did attend all my regular and special meeting. The only one I was absent for was the bowling alley that we covered at the start of the meeting. Public Works, just so everyone knows, I don't know why, but I probably received through phone and email, 15 to 20 residents reach out to me in the last 4 weeks. Just congratulating that group there. They're out early when they have to be. The roads are getting done. People are happy. There was one resident who said, getting a wake up call at 4 o'clock wasn't great, but she understood why. And so I just wanted to thank them for the work that they're doing as much as all of our other departments. I did spend a little bit of time with Rec. Rec has been going through some issues himself, as we all know. Our Olympia is having some issues. Congratulations to that team we basically, I think we missed a couple of hours of rice rentals at most. It wasn't even a full 24 hours.
1 hour.
1 hour, 1 hour. We were able to get an Olympia delivered to us and lose 1 hour.
And we'd like to thank the city of Timmins for
Right.
helping us. out.
Exactly, right, so those are alliances that we have, and with Director Finner and his team, he did a great job on getting that back up and going. And I know there's gonna be some bigger questions probably tomorrow night on the future of what's happening with the Olympia. Corcus Rink, I drove by the other night, you swear to God, there's a UFO landing, it's nice, it's bright. I'd like to thank that group again for all the work that they continue to do out there and, making our community look good. The one thing I do wanna focus on this year is getting, maybe our rinks here in town, maybe spiffed up. I know we did some work and I know the group working out there. And I think we just have to keep focusing on these outdoor recreationals for the youth and for the adults to be able to get out, enjoy ice hockey or whatever it may be. And I'll end with saying the next thing I'm gonna work on that is not really all council involvement, but my daughter this year went to a volleyball tournament in elementary school. And believe it or not, every school in our community had a team there. What means the Catholic and the public and the French and the English were all underneath one roof. And believe it or not, everyone went home at the end of the day. It was amazing. I think there needs to be more of that. There's a huge bus crisis right now, up to where there's even a school board that is gonna start paying parents if your child doesn't have a bus for a full week. So if your child bus gets canceled for a full week, the school board is gonna say, here's X amount of dollars because you couldn't pick up your child. So my question to the school boards, and I'm prepping a letter and I'm hoping to get some support from town hall is, why can't we all get on the same bus again like we used to? We live in our community, and I try to instill into my kids is, we treat everyone with the same respect and we work together and we are one community. So let's get back on the same bus. We could probably help save every school board some money and probably take care of the shortage of bus drivers. As they're having trouble finding people as well. So that's another thing I'm gonna be working on.
And on that front, environmental, you know what I mean? Having buses driving, I agree with you totally.
So I just wanted to thank the schools for doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a step in the right direction at restoring what it used to once.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll go to the mayor's report. I'd like to thank Clerk Falls Events Committee. I've been in a lot of other meetings lately and I attended a few, but I'd like to thank my fellow councilors, Bernier and Tremblay, and staff and the whole committee. I haven't been involved as much as I was in previous years, but we have a lot going on, but I'd like to sincerely thank you all. And like Councilor Bernier said, we're looking for donations. The carnival's running March 8th to the 17th. I'm getting people that used to live in this community reach out and ask for those dates, so they want to take their holiday time to come to Iroquois Falls for carnival time. Because last year was a huge success. We've been building on carnival every year. So they say, thank you for everybody that's involved on that front. I did a flag raising ceremony for Alzheimer's and that one worked pretty well too. I attended my budget meetings, my council meetings. I've been at my CDSAD meetings, my Northern Ontario Wires, my Park Point Health Unit, we just did some budgets. So I made sure all those numbers got to our Treasury Department, and thank you for the Treasury Department, and all your hard work on working with me on that also. But the big thing is, I attended a Roma conference just last week with Director Finner, and we met with the Ministry of Transportation and with the city of Timmins on Highway 67 Municipal Road. And we're looking for some favorable results. I'm not gonna make any promises, but working with Timmins, it was noted that we're doing the right thing, teaming up with another community that's affected. So we're looking for some good feedback. Minister George Peary is doing stuff behind the scenes also for us, so we appreciate all his hard work also. We also attended with Brian Finner and Paul Shatley, the Ministry of Long-Term Care for our manor. I'm very happy with the way that meeting went also. So on another note, I believe 2 days after, I can't go into too much detail, but we did meet with at a private meeting, the Assistant Deputy of Housing, and that went pretty well also. And right after that meeting, myself and Mr. Finner were invited to different events, different suppers. But we had a supper meeting with the Minister of University and Colleges. Also at that supper meeting, we had the Ministry of Housing, and we had the Ministry of Long-Term Care there. So we're both there with 2.5 hours, approximately at the supper meeting with the ministers. That's a good sign. We're doing networking behind the scenes, and I see hopefully things are looking up for our community. I'm not gonna make any promises, but things are looking positive for us. There's a lot of stuff happening. I met with some investors also, and that looks very promising on that front too. But hopefully there's gonna be some good news coming soon, and I feel like it was a very good conference for Iroquois Falls and the North. So, Director Finner, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that remarks, or?
No, I couldn't agree more. I think we took the opportunities that were given us to, put as much voice and strength at Iroquois Falls as possible on the many pillars you mentioned, and felt really, really good about the delegations. We're gonna continue to do our end and double down with the province on the needs for Iroquois Falls and to try and support council and residents, and I certainly look forward to next steps.
Great, thank you. So that's it for me, and now can I get someone to move that we go into close? Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Lefebvre.
Moved by Councilor Jiguer, seconded by Councilor Lefebvre, that council goes into a closed session at 7:46 PM to discuss the following: labor relations or employee negotiations, Municipal Act, Section 239(2)D, concerning union negotiations, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, Municipal Act, Section 239(2)B, concerning procedural matters.
All in favor? Carried. So we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Again, I get a mover and a seconder that we arise from the closed session. Councilor Jiguer, Councilor Charlebois.
Moved by Councilor Jiguer, seconded by Councilor Charlebois, that council arise from closed session at 8:30 PM with the following report. Council received information regarding union negotiations and procedural matters.
All in favor? Carried. Can I get a mover and a seconder that we adjourn the meeting? Councilor Bernier and Councilor Jiguer.
Moved by Councilor Bernier, seconded by Councilor Jiguer, that the meeting adjourns at 8:31 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Good night, everyone.